Welcome back to the workshop, everybody. So glad you could be with me here today. Walter at the workbench. Today's topic, working with green wood. Yes, green, fresh, wet wood. Why would you do that? Because you have it, okay? Can you do that? Absolutely. There's some methods and techniques that you need to adjust to, and you need to plan for the expansion and contraction. In this case, it will be the shrinkage of the wood. It's going to shrink in width, it's going to shrink in thickness, and once again, this is quarter sawn red oak, but this is fresh from the mill, okay? Totally fresh from the mill. Now, a word about moisture in wood. The only time, there is only one time you can call wood dry is if it contains no moisture. None. It is oven baked, it has no moisture in it, no water at all. How many times will that happen? Only when you're doing oven drying tests. Okay. So all wood contains moisture. It can be low, it can be 3-4% in some arid region, it can be 8-10% in most homes in the northern hemisphere. It could be higher, 12-14% in places where there's a lot of heavy, wet air all the time. So, let me show you something. And I'm pretty sure most of you, if you've done any amount of hand planing, will have seen this. Can you see that little, see if we can get the camera to show it off. There is a oxidized spot right there. That's right in the middle. Usually you'll find it dead center of your plane. What that is, and if you recall over the last 3, 4, 5 months, I've been planing oak, both red and white, a little bit of cherry, some walnut. When you're planing, you are generating heat. Cutting actions create heat. Now, it's not the type of heat like a blowtorch that can warp and distort metal, but it will raise the temperature of your plane sole, it will raise the temperature of your blade, and in turn, it will transmit heat throughout all parts near the cutting edge, which is fine. That's normal. But what happens is that heat that you generate during cutting releases moisture in the form of a shaving or in the form of humidity, okay? The moisture will be just enough that it will cling to your steel and iron parts. It will cling to anything cold, and then it begins the oxidation process. So regardless of what wood you have, regardless if it's been air dried, kiln dried, seasoned, if it's not bone dry, oven dry, it contains moisture. So, getting back to working green wood. So, once again, this is quarter sawn red oak. I don't like red oak. However, when the stuff is just this gorgeous, I can't resist, okay? Now, use some sort of lubricant often on your planes. On your chisels, on your hand saws. Anything that is steel or iron that will come in contact with the wood should be lubricated. Okay? Now, as you can tell, I'm taking a super fine cut, but not doing too bad as far as width is concerned. We've got 1 7/8, so that's almost the full width of the cutter. So the key to working green wood, and it kind of goes for most any wood, but green wood, you want to be super, super sharp. Why, you might ask? Okay, here's one of the keys. Working green wood cuts easier, there's less effort. However, because the wood is not dry, and we call it dry, but as we mentioned before, dry being 0% moisture, but the more dry the wood is, the tighter the structure. Everything has pulled together, it's tight. Sort of like the difference between a glass of water and a piece of ice, okay? They're both H2O, but one you can shave, the other one you can't. So by being super sharp, it works beautifully. However, you can create tear out more easily on green wood. And each wood is different. Oak, flat sawn oak is not quite as bad as quartered. The quartered, you have all those rays, all the ray fleck to deal with. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. So, super sharp. Now, that's done. C'est fini. Okay? Look at that grain pattern in there. Can you see that? Too bright? The light too bright? Let's try moving it over this way. Immediately upon completion of your planing, lubricate. Now, the biggest tip I can give you, you notice when I say there's a tip, okay? It's important, so you should listen, okay? Or don't, but when you're done for the day and you're done working your wood, besides stacking it and making sure it can air dry evenly, etc., you really need to, or should, take your plane apart, dust it off, and wipe it down with a little bit of oil of your choice. Take the blade and chip raker apart, clean, dust it off, oil it. Why do I say that? Because the moisture, the wet sawdust, will lay on that blade and it will begin oxidizing, and oxidation on steel equals rust. Okay? And if you get it on the underside of the chip raker and the face of the blade, and you leave it for a month or two, you will create pitting, which you cannot just easily lap out. So, I will be taking my planes apart, dusting them off, wiping them down with a little oil, put them all back together, good as gold. But can you work green wood? Absolutely. There are some considerations. There's levels of how green something is. This is fresh. So what I can do now is I can sticker these with some sort of wooden spacers. If I wanted to dry it more quickly, I would use a spacer the same thickness as the board. If I want to dry more slowly, I will use a thinner spacer. But typically, you use stickers or spacers the same thickness as your wood to get a nice even drying. So that's totally up to you. Between planing of seasoned wood, I like to use just a 1/4 inch sticker, and that way the wood is not touching each other, it's getting acclimated to the shop, and so on. Hope this helps somebody, and I hope you found it useful, maybe even entertaining. If you did and you liked the video, give it the thumbs up. If you didn't, that's fine. And we welcome you to subscribe if you have not yet. And if you are subscribed, I thank you and welcome you every single time we do a video. But most importantly, as always, head out to your shop. Go make some shavings. Walter out.